Welcome back to the Live Lightly podcast. We are here for a second season. I'm your host, Jessica. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we are going to talk to Lindsey McCoy. She is the founder of Plaine Products. And when I started my journey of trying to eliminate plastic from my household, the first layer of my journey was trying to eliminate plastic that came into contact with food or drinks, which took quite a long time. And then I realized that there's a whole nother layer for the environment because we're putting a lot of plastic out there. Plaine Products was the very first company that I found to replace my shampoo, conditioner, and lotion. And so it's really just an honor to be here with you today, Lindsey. I feel like things have come full circle. I saw the plastic detox on Netflix. And I thought, oh my gosh, I just have to start putting together a second season where we focus more on the products that we can use in our homes and the people that we can trust. So thank you for joining me today, Lindsey.
I, it's always so exciting for me to have the opportunity to talk to people. It's so hard in this busy world to find the time to find good products and have these conversations. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. It sounds like you've had quite the journey. You started this business 9 years ago, which coincides when I was looking for products to swap out in my home. And like I said, I was looking initially for products to swap out that replaced a plastic throwaway. And along the way, I realized, oh my gosh, there's so many more layers to this. There's also the ingredients, which I had done before the plastic. I thought I was doing well with ingredients. But then once I started realizing that some of the swaps that I was getting, not yours, but for other products, how unclean they were. It just really, and I went back to yours to check the ingredients. I was so grateful that I didn't have to start over again.
Me too.
Most of the products, it was like back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And it took me a very long time actually to find replacements for everything because there weren't really any that were doing both at the same time. So we will talk about that, but could you just kind of go back to the beginning and walk us through the
Yeah.
journey that you've been on and what sparked this inspiration for you to do such a thing?
Well, when I was growing up, if you wanted to do good in the world, you did not go into business. You did something else with your life, and so I ended up going into the nonprofit world, and I worked for a lot of different nonprofits, and then met and married my husband, who's actually from the Bahamas. And when we moved to the Bahamas, I actually didn't have a big nonprofit background. I had done more women and children and education and that type of stuff. But there was a nonprofit there that was looking for an executive director and called Friends of the Environment. And I ended up applying and getting the job just on the basis of my general experience. But while I was there, I got to have these amazing experience with scientists who were coming and doing research. And we go out to these, beautiful remote islands and there would be plastic. No people, but plastic.
Oh
Or
my
we would
gosh.
do these beach cleanups with kids and there would be piles of plastic, or I would end up at a dump for something and you just see the plastic piled up. And it just became so apparent to me in a way that not in the States, all this plastic was just sitting there and it wasn't going anywhere. And that's around the same time that scientists started to say there could be more plastic than fish in the ocean by 2050 if we just kept throwing stuff away. And so I didn't want to keep contributing to it. So I started, carrying the reusable bag and skipping the straw and the water bottle. And I was staring at these plastic bottles in my shower. And here's when you find out how old I am. I was like, why can't it be like Netflix where like they used to send you a DVD and you watched it and then you sent the DVD back and then they sent you another one. I was like, why can't we do that with packaging? And that was the initial idea. And then, so I called my sister. We agreed to start it. I decided to move back to the US. Then I started learning about the ingredients. I was like, okay, we're going to create this great environmental. I didn't know anything about the beauty industry. And so I started talking to other kind of, I guess you call them influencers now, but sort of green beauty people, like what do you think about this? And they're like, oh my gosh, you can't put this. And what about this? What about this? And they're like, no, no. So it was a steep learning curve of all the things that I had been putting on my body for 30, 40 years that I didn't know were bad. And, at the time, I guess I felt naive. I just never occurred to me that companies would put chemicals in water and a bottle and sell it to people.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, I really started this from the packaging side and wanting to have less plastic in the environment. And then I started to find out that there was plastic in the bottle and endocrine disruptors in the bottle. And so then the ingredients became very important to me. Because I was like, I don't put this on my kids. I don't want other people or on me. I mean, that's the other crazy thing is, people are like, oh, it's baby safe. I'm like, shouldn't it be everybody safe? Like, yeah, we don't want to put stuff on babies, but I also don't want to. I mean, like, I'm not dead yet. Like, I also need to probably be doing good things for. Um, so ingredients became a real just learning curve and became very important to me that we were also doing in clean ingredients in our products. So packaging, ingredients, and then I was like, oh, food. Then you go down the next rabbit hole as you were talking about. It's reverse, but
Mhm.
then we started to learn about all the effects that the plastic's having on our health and all the other things. So it's been a journey, but it's amazing how when you just are trying not to have waste and you're trying not to have chemicals, you end up with vegan, safe, cruelty-free products. Like it kind of just all works together.
Well, that's not the common way that many products out there have done it. I feel like a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon when they started realizing people wanted less plastic, and they did it in sneaky ways that seemed clean and green, like, ooh, a bottle that is made of recycled plastic.
Well, and
But inside is still all the chemicals, and it's like, wait, but I'm still have a plastic bottle.
no, I
Right?
mean, there has been so much money spent on convincing us that disposability is the most important thing.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, that plastic recycling happens when it very rarely does. And even when plastic is recycled, it's usually melted down and it can only be reused once or twice. And that's a whole lot more chemicals that go into it. And then it still ends up in a landfill.
Yeah,
So, there
at the
are
end of
things
the
that
day.
plastic is good for, but things that we use for a little bit and then just to throw it away, it just doesn't make sense. And, things that we're eating or putting in our body, it turns out that something made from a toxic chemical, maybe not the best packaging to be putting in.
Right. Yeah, it's not the best packaging. And I think that a lot of people are now starting to be aware of that. But when they start to sift through all of this, Lindsay, can you talk to some of the greenwashing that you see out there when it comes to these type of products in this industry? Because I just mentioned one, but there's more.
There's so many. I mean, from
Yeah.
the ingredient side, there's this word fragrance that people aren't legally required to say. At some point, some lobbyists convinced the FDA that it should be a trade secret, that they shouldn't have to disclose their fragrance. And then they started using it to hide all manner of things in their
Yeah.
products. So I would just say to anyone, if you see the word fragrance and nothing else, you should be asking what's in that. And if the company is not willing to tell you, that's a pretty good sign that there's probably some things that you don't want on your body in there.
Can you go a little bit deeper into that? Because that was probably something that you really had to figure out. That's a
Yeah,
big piece to
I
the
mean,
puzzle. Your stuff smells amazing,
and it's
but
essential oils. I mean, they're all
yeah.
plant-based stuff, so you don't need it, but,
Mhm.
if you want some crazy smell that's not you can't get out of plants, people can make you just about anything out of chemicals. I mean, it's actually kind of remarkable what they can do with chemicals, but then that usually often means some other chemicals, often plastics, phthalates, endocrine disruptors, to hold that scent all together and to make it work with the product. And that's all hidden behind this word fragrance. So people don't have to disclose, but they also can disclose. And if they're using stuff that is not scary, they probably are disclosing. So I think anytime you just see that word, you really got to ask yourself, why aren't they telling you what's in it?
That's a huge problem, and because for performance, I'm sure that shampoo and conditioner have a lot of different layers of
They
chemical
do,
ingredient.
they do, but we were very lucky. So, I started learning about all of the ingredients that went into a lot of other products, and so we started looking for a manufacturer that made an effective product that was plant-based, and that took a long time. Kissed a lot of frogs, got a lot of samples, got a lot of ingredient lists, or people weren't willing to give us their ingredient list, and we're like, "Yeah, okay, nope,
How long
nope,
did that take to finally find a manufacturer
yeah,
that had all of the how long?
a year,
A year.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,"
And
and that
they
was a lot of phone calls, emails, phone call back. Well, do you know anybody else? Well, can you tell me? Well, what do you think about this? Do you know anybody? How about this? Well, how about these? I mean, just on and on and on and on. And then asking questions. And then on top of it, once we did find somebody, we're like, oh, did we mention that we want to reuse these bottles? They're like, what? So we actually went down, when we had a finalist and talked to them, and we went to see their facility and talked about what we wanted to do and what they were doing. And, were aligned enough that they were willing to work with us. And I am so grateful. I mean, I don't think I realized at the time how lucky we are that it only took us a year and that we found somebody who felt the same way we felt about ingredients. So, we have a hard and fast rule about what we do and don't use, and they were aligned with that, which has been amazing. We have had to say in a few cases, like, oh, they're like, oh, we can't get this. I'm like, well, we need to figure something else out, like, or we're just going to discontinue. I mean, I think it's important to just have some red lines in the sand. I'm like, no, we're disclosing everything. I want the whole list from you. If you can't give me the whole list, don't use that supplier. We'd all agreed that it was plant-based. And interesting, the only issue was there was a few scent suppliers who were like, oh, we can't tell you. And I was like, then not that one. Then we're going to use somebody else.
so within that manufacturing process, there are multiple suppliers of ingredients,
Yes.
and they deal with that end, or you had to deal with
Oh,
that
I
end?
mean, we dealt with that end and that saying, here's our policy, but then they have thankful. I mean, that is, they have a huge staff. They have a chemist on board. They're FDA certified. That's a whole, again, not knowing what we were getting into when we got into the personal care world. I thought, oh, we can make products. Just mix it up. No, 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 no. Um, it's one thing to make stuff that you're using in your own home. And I applaud everybody who does that. And that is a wonderful thing and probably the safest thing that you can do. But if you are making something that has to sit on a shelf for any amount of time, you need somebody who can help you make that stable. You need somebody who's doing the microbial tests. You need somebody that is FDA certified. You need somebody who can do all of those things to keep everybody safe because it starts to get complicated. The second you put stuff in a in a bottle.
And that's just with the product itself, and
Yes.
then with the packaging, that's a separate situation
Whole other thing.
altogether. Can
And
you tell
that's
us a little bit about that? Because
yeah. I mean,
I think that that is so important for people to understand what went into figuring out a way to completely bypass the plastic.
that was the goal. That was the
Mhm.
whole
That was
goal.
the beginning.
That
Yeah.
was the beginning. I mean, that was the idea is like, how do I stop throwing away all this plastic?
And it's like you have to go back to what did people like, did you have to go back to, like, how was this done before plastic even existed?
Yeah,
I guess
I mean,
people
like,
just
straight
used a
up.
bar of soap or something, right?
No, I mean, they've had these products before plastic. So yes, I mean, they're all of this existed. I mean, people used glass in a lot of cases.
Mm.
Um,
That's interesting because I can't remember back that far.
I mean, I don't think we were alive. I mean,
Probably not.
we were not alive. I mean, plastics really started ramping up in the 40s and 50s.
Mhm.
So that's sort of pre us. But
Yes.
I was barely alive when, Coke and Pepsi and all that used to come in glass bottles and there was like a bottle return. And I was not alive for the milkman, but I have heard tell of, the milkman would drop off the milk and then he'd pick up the empty bottles. I have read research that said there used to be facilities all over the country that just wash bottles for refilling. I mean, for the
Hmm.
soda industry, for the milk. I mean, that just used to be
The way it was.
the way it was.
Yeah. That
Until
all went away.
it all went away because plastic was cheap.
It's very sad how, there was never any safety testing done for the back end of throwing this all away. Like, nobody had the foresight to think about the repercussions of long-term use of something that's going to be thrown away.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, that's not how our safety system works. It's not like prove that this is safe. It's like someday
No.
somebody's like, "Oh, this is dangerous." And then you've got to like prove that it's dangerous, which is kind of crazy that we're not, concerned. It's like you can be on a list for being dangerous, but you never have to prove that you're safe.
Right.
We have a list of chemicals, a very small list of chemicals that you can't use because people have proven that they are dangerous. Whereas the EU has like a huge, huge list of chemicals that they can't use because people can't prove that they're safe. Like,
Right.
you know,
So backwards. And plastic is
so
not safe. So, and it's also not good for the environment long
it's not
run.
good for the
So,
environment. It's not good for our bodies. It's not good for climate change. And plastic is related to fossil fuels. It's all tied in there together.
yes. And in
And
the
this,
Bahamas, where they didn't have, it sounds like it was piling up because they didn't have any infrastructure to deal with it. I mean, our infrastructure for so long to deal with it, to recycle it, was to ship it off to some other country who was taking care of that on the back end, but not really.
I mean, I think that's still mostly what we're doing. I mean, we can't
Yeah,
send it to China anymore, but we're still sending it away. Um,
somewhere.
you know, somewhere. I think they are recycling some, but again, plastic's so cheap, it's not really worth it to recycle. And that's a toxic process.
Exactly. As we saw in the documentary, it impacts communities where these plants are producing it or recycling it. I spoke with the director of Earth Day Foundation last year and about this topic in particular. And sometimes it's incinerated to get rid of it.
Yeah, then we're
That's
breathing
not
it.
recycling.
Great, great. Yeah, no, that is not recycling it.
No,
That is not recycling it. And as
that's
I said,
creating another problem. That's all
yeah,
it's doing in our
yeah,
air.
yeah,
And
no,
especially for the communities where it's happening, whether they're incinerating it, recycling it, because it has to be broken down, which is a process that has a lot of off gassing,
yes,
or they're producing it, it's no good for those communities.
all
So
of it is toxic.
the solution is to bypass it altogether. And how did you do that?
I mean, the goal there is just to create some packaging that is durable and has some value. So we ended up with aluminum. We looked at glass and we do use some glass. We're a little worried about glass in the shower, slippery
Yeah.
kids. So we looked at stainless actually, but it turns out that all stainless is not stainless.
Has
That's a whole
chemicals in it,
that was a whole other
depending
that's a
on
whole
where
other
you get it from, right?
yeah, that was a whole other fun journey. But anyway, we ended up with aluminum. It does have a
Mhm.
liner to make sure that aluminum is not always great. It can leach into products and cause, bad things. If so, we do have a liner. I wish that liner was plant based. We've asked for that liner to be plant based. Hopefully, one day it will be.
Mhm.
Um, but it is at least BPA free. There's nothing bad in it. It's inert. And so we send you a bottle, send you a pump, and then we send you a refill bottle. Switch the pump over, send us back the empty bottle, and then we wash them, sterilize them, get them refilled, send them back out into the world. And so what's crazy to me is it's not that complicated and it's not that hard. People are like, how do you do? I'm like, we know how to wash things.
Mm.
I
How
mean,
did
Russ,
you find a facility that would wash it?
we wash it.
Who's we?
We Plaine Products. We have a warehouse where we do all of our fulfillment, and we have a
Mhm.
bottle washer and a bottle dryer at the warehouse. There was a picture of it. I can show you a picture of it. But yeah,
Yeah, it's
no,
okay. It'll be inside the master class, which will be
yeah,
available.
yes. There's a
Yeah.
picture at the end of the master class of my sister and I in front of our bottle washer, just so people again greenwashing. I love to show people that we're actually doing it. If there's no warehouse somewhere where all the bottles are piled up, hiding. Like we actually
Right.
do wash the bottles, reuse the boxes. Yeah, it's not hard. It's not crazy. It's just a little extra cost, a little extra time, and you gotta have people willing to do it.
So, okay, so you have this bottle washer that you purchased
Yes.
and you're doing it in the place where you're fulfilling your orders. This is where you're cleaning the bottles as they come back to you.
So there's 2 different rooms going on. There's a back room where the returns come in, we sort them, we wash them, we dry them, we store them, and then there's a front of the warehouse where all the fill bottles are stored, and we're packing boxes out of that and sending them out into the world. So those
Wow.
boxes are going out, empty boxes full of empties are coming in, and we're washing them, and so there's just always something going on. Stuff's going
Always
out,
something.
coming in. Yeah,
That's really amazing. This brings me, you just said boxes, and I know that you also do really well with recycling your boxes.
we do.
So you send out a box for people to send their empties back
So
to you
when
in.
we sell so you get a shampoo, comes with a
Mhm,
bottle. We send you a refill shampoo bottle, just the bottle, and a
mhm,
return label.
mhm.
That first empty bottle, once it's empty, you can put it in that same box, put the label on the outside, and it comes back to us.
So you're reusing even boxes too.
We reuse a box 5, 6, 7 times before it's recycled paper when we get it, but we reuse it as many times as we can before it gets recycled again.
Before you can't, yeah, use it
Yeah,
anymore, it's too
yeah.
broken down or whatever. Yeah. So that's really a good thing to know as well because we do need to think about all of the products that we're
Well, I
that
mean,
we're
everything that
utilizing.
we use, we have to make, and
Mhm.
that's
Right.
resources, that's energy, that's time, that's money. So, every time that we can reuse a box, that's one less box that has to be made, that we have to pay for, that has to be made out of something, that energy to be made. I mean, all the resources, all the things.
And that probably does come back to helping to keep the costs down because you're reusing so many of these materials that would otherwise just be a one time cost, one and done. But other than that, being one way that you're able to keep costs down a little bit, there is sometimes a discrepancy between the cost of this and what you can find at the shelves, at the grocery
Yeah.
store or Target or the big box stores. And I know like there's no difference between the cost of this and something that's at the salon. And oftentimes that's even more costly. But for people who are maybe not buying the salon, more expensive types of products, can you walk through how we can
Well,
justify the cost difference?
well, there's a few different people. I mean, you were talking to a girl who had $4 Suave for a long time because I didn't know any better. But yes, it turns out if you look at the back of it, water, chemical in a plastic bottle, that is really cheap,
Super cheap.
super cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, there's literally not anything natural going on in any of those super cheap products. So that's just the reality. I mean, that's just, you are putting a lot of chemicals on your body.
So it's
Um,
a so there's a choice to be made. For me, it was about quality,
yes.
wanting to have something that's quality.
Yes.
And also, I feel like it lasts a lot longer because
So
you're not
here's the
using
other
as
piece.
much.
When you have a giant bottle that's mostly water and some chemicals, you turn it upside down, or you're like, "Ah, I need more. I need
Mhm.
more." Or, you squeeze it and you have like this much in your hand and you're like,
Right,
"Oh."
too much came out. Yeah.
So, our products, the main first ingredient is aloe, not water, and then it's a bunch of plants. And you get a little bit and you put it in your hair, and then you can actually just add water from the shower in your hair and just work it around and it lathers up. And that's the main difference is you don't need more product. You just need a little bit of product and more water. So yes, our bottles are more expensive, but they last 6 months. Easy.
Mhm.
Easy. So, when you're
True.
thinking about it, okay, you're paying $4 now or you're paying $30, but it's 6 months, that's $5, a month.
Mhm.
I did see something once that sort of I think it was talking about organic food, and it was like, instead of wondering why something's so expensive, maybe we need to wonder why this
Why
other
it's so.
stuff's so cheap.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's kind of what it comes down to. It's like, you know,
It's true.
you just gotta pick where you're spending the money and why. And for me, what I put on my body, what affects my health, what affects my kids' health, what, all of that, that's going to be more important to me than some other things that I do or don't buy.
Yeah.
So
It's a
I
shift in values, and that happens with
you
awareness.
have to have the education first to have the shift in values.
Like,
I didn't know any better, so I kept doing it. But then,
yep.
it's like anything else. It's like once you see the plastic and you start to look around and realize it's everywhere and how much you're touching it and how much it's touching you, then once you find out about the chemicals that you're putting on
You
your
can't
body,
unknow.
no, 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 I don't want to keep doing it. So it is, but you can't, I don't think you don't know what you don't know. I don't think it's anything people should feel bad about or,
Nope.
you just don't know what you don't know. And then once you do
Right.
know, you try and do better. You try and
Yep.
not have a lot of plastic in your kitchen and use bamboo or use metal. Don't put plastic in the microwave with food in it. If you do nothing else, don't put food with plastic in the microwave. I mean, you try and start. I don't like
Yeah.
the term zero waste because I don't like zero because it feels like you have to be perfect or you can't do anything. And one of the things that I loved about the Netflix documentary was they were like, let's just reduce some and see how you do. And none of them are perfect. None of them got rid of all plastic in their life, but
Mhm.
by getting rid of some of the plastic in the kitchen, changing out some of their products. All of their levels went down in
Mhm.
2 months, 3 months. It worked. We can do things that have a real impact, and so you don't have to be perfect. It's okay sometimes if it happens. We live in a disposable plastic world. It
Mhm.
is everywhere. But
Yeah, you
when
actually have to work hard at it.
you have to work hard at it. But
Mhm.
there are choices. There are more choices every day. And, now you don't have to sacrifice quality for those choices, which you used to. So I think that's important too.
Yeah, there are a lot of choices out there. I think that it's moving in the right direction because people are starting to become aware. I think that not all of the a lot of choices out there are the best choices. So that's where it gets a little bit challenging, I'd say, to
Yeah. I
be
mean, the whole
sifting
compostable
through
thing.
all of the what is good and what is not
Yeah.
good and yeah.
No. But that's why people like you are important. And I think there are other people that are calling BS on stuff like this Grove Collaborative is working on, and they did exhaustive testing on everything to make sure that everybody was standing by their products. I'm proud to say that we're in it. And I'm proud to say that we're in it because again, I believe things should be tested. I believe people should have to answer questions. You shouldn't be able to hide behind things.
It's so good that people are starting to be more aware as consumers of what we're bringing into our homes, what we're putting on our bodies, and how it's impacting our health. And now I like to always add in that layer of how it impacts our planet because they're interconnected, they're not separate at all.
We need the planet. I mean, the planet does need us. And if we keep
It's true.
filling it with toxic chemicals, yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
not going to be a pretty sight. And in many places, it already isn't.
And climate change is here. I mean, again,
Yeah.
I lived in the Bahamas. My husband's family's from the Bahamas. Hurricanes are different now than they were 10 years ago. They are stronger, they increase faster, there's right I mean, I don't think there's normal weather anymore anywhere.
I don't think
Hot,
so.
cold, wet, dry, I mean, it's all, it's here. And
Mhm.
so I think,
And faster than scientists were expecting it to be.
yeah, I mean, we are
Yeah, like
we
in
are
the ocean, there are changes that are happening faster than scientists were anticipating, and so, yeah, it's not we're blessed and we're able to look around and not see this piling up in our backyards just yet, but, they're actually trying to ramp up plastic production instead of finally realizing what it's doing to the environment and to human
no,
health and
a
the
lot,
costs of all of that.
yes.
And yeah, we're gonna have to make different decisions because nobody else is making different decisions. The corporations using the plastic packaging is not changing things, and there are no regulations that are coming down the pipes anytime soon
No,
to slow things down. Even though there are
huge
people out
money.
there trying, it's just not coming through.
No,
And it takes time. If it does come through, it takes too long.
yeah, and
Years.
there's too much money.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, there's too much money in it for
Yep.
people to walk away from it, unfortunately. So,
Well,
yes.
fortunately, there are people out there like you doing all the things right, um, and we have options. We have choices. So
Yeah, and, I
that's the
mean, right
biggest thing.
now, we're shipping a lot more than I would like to be shipping bottles around the country, but, I sort of say it was like solar panels in the '80s, like, when they cost a lot and people that could use them, and then more and more in volume, and then they became cheap, and now they're affordable. Like, that's kind of what we're trying to do with reuse. Like, right now, we gotta ship it around, and they all gotta come back to us, be washed, because there's not washing facilities all over the country, but
Mhm.
there could be, there will be. If there's need for them. So,
It's
again,
true.
yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like once there's the need, then the infrastructure has to reply. It has to start as an intention. And then once that intention is there, it grows because people get on board and they want better and they want to support companies like yours who are doing all the right things, and you're a small business and you care about people, you care about the planet, and you're putting all of that over the bottom line. So thank you for what you're doing out there in the world, Lindsay, and thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate our conversation.
Well, I really appreciate it. As you said, we all are a small business, and, you don't wanna be a best kept secret when you're a small business. So we always
No.
appreciate any way to tell people that we're there and, what we're trying to do.
If you'd like more information about these products, Lindsay actually has a slideshow presentation that she went through for her masterclass. There is a link in the description. It's free, and you can find out more about her product as well as many other products that you can use to replace all of the things that you're looking for to bring your household up to speed when it comes to health, safety, and being environmentally friendly for Mother Earth. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.